Hey everyone, thank you so much, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our talk. If you saw us troubleshooting earlier, you would have seen some cute hyena wallpapers on my laptop. I feel like I should explain those. I have no explanation. I think they're just very cute. It's very relaxing when you're at work and you're thinking about something. You're like, I'm going to look at a cute picture for a minute. So that was that. But Court and I are here to talk to you today about bringing Passkeys to critical mass. I am the lead UX designer for Google Authentication for the Google account for Google.com, and Court is our lead content strategist. And so we do a lot of work with research and marketing, and we've learned some really cool and interesting stuff that we want to share with you today. But with every great presentation comes a great preamble. And so today, I just want to remind us that Passkeys are seeing really, really cool momentum. And so not only are we bringing them to all kinds of platforms and are we creating lots of UIs, people are talking about them on social media. So Sundar Pichai, if you know him, he's got a couple followers and he's tweeting about them. So we love that. And industry support is growing. I mean, some really great companies, some really great groups, some really incredible teams are working on Passkeys right now, and they're bringing them to billions of users around the world. eBay, Mercari, Amazon, 1Password, PayPal, Dashlane, Kayak, Yahoo, DocuSign, Uber, Shopify, and lots more are bringing Passkeys to users today, right now, in real time. And you can use a lot of these implementations. Oh, we have a little hiccup on our slide. Oh, it's up there, but not down here. Cool. Okay, excuse me. So we have these cool quotes from our developer blog and our keynote blog. And one thing that I want to highlight here is that we have Kayak, we have Amazon, we have Dashlane, and it's all really, really positive stuff. So Kayak users are signing in 50% faster than before. That is unbelievable numbers. And Dashlane is seeing a 70% increase in conversion in Passkeys. That's unbelievable improvements. What else do you get those kind of numbers from? And we're seeing really good success at Google too. So today, and this data is a few weeks old at this point, so it's even more, but Passkeys have been used over 1 billion times across 400 million Google accounts. That's billion with a B and 400 million Google accounts with an M. It's unbelievable. And we know that they're easy to use and phishing resistant, and we'll talk more about that today, specifically the easy to use part. And they're 50% faster than passwords. That's so fast. That's so much time saved. All the seconds, all the stress, all the worries, all the typing. That's so much less of that in the world just because of this. We love that. And so today, Court and I will be talking about how we evolved our Google.com strategy beyond our initial audience. And this is really important stuff from a UX strategy perspective. And the way we have broken down our Passkeys experience for when we're talking about them and thinking about them is over 3 main touch points. We have passkey creation, we have signing in with a passkey, and passkey management. And I am going to tell you a little bit about our passkey creation moment, some cool stuff we've learned, and our adoption positioning. And so what we always keep in mind is that sign-in is not the destination, but it's a stop on the journey. And so if a user can get a good enough experience without signing in, why would they go through the hassle if it's too difficult? And this is something that we internalize and we make the center of our decision-making process at Google. And we know, and we have learned time and again, that users want convenience and easy access to their accounts. And I feel like I just told you that water is wet, but we always hear it. We always see the same thing. And what we found, and what we've talked about before, is how familiar language and simple explanations work really well. So here you can see our content. Thank you, Court. With Passkeys, you can now use your fingerprint, face, or screen lock to verify it's really you. And there's a lot of parts of this that work really well. And so as we evolve and we grow, how do we think about optimizing our journeys to drive conversion? And these are provisional findings on a subset of platforms in a particular set of cases. But it's so interesting that I really wanted to share it with you today. And so when we talk about simplicity and we talk about convenience and we talk about the great things that Passkeys can do for users, we really want to know what that means for people. So of course people want easy access, but what does it mean? How are Passkeys convenient? And so we did a bunch of experiments on all kinds of different manifestations of convenience for users. We did speed, we did ease, we did all kinds of things. Anything you can imagine that would fall under convenience reasonably, we did a test on it. But we found, as you can imagine, that speed is a really good manifestation of convenience for our users. And also, we found that our illustrations, they really need to convey that simplicity and speed as well. And so, here, with our illustrations, what we learned very recently, as we expand our user base and we expand Passkeys' reach for Google.com accounts, we've learned that users are, for example, interpreting more complexity than we would attend from these. And what I mean by that is, you can see that there's a smiley face to represent like Face ID, you've got the pin lock, you've got the key, you've got the fingerprint. People are reading that as a step-by-step process, which I never would have expected. But it's completely reasonable. If you don't know what this is, you're looking for all the information you can. And then this is a big piece of the screen, and so it's easy to interpret that. And so another thing we learned as well is that creating that super fast experience, talking about it is one thing, acting on it is another thing. And so we ran some experiments, and we found that for certain high-trust cases, it was really fast and really great conversion for us to sort of have the user authenticate and then present WebAuthn right away and get them straight into that creation moment without the speed bump preamble. And so, again, this is provisional findings. And again, this is really in high trust with Google and the platforms that we experimented with. But manifesting that speed in different ways has turned out to be really interesting and really exciting for us. And so there'll be more to come on that in the future. And also, we've worked on optimizing our visual cues as well. So this is a revision to Chrome's WebAuthn experience that we'll be rolling out over the next few months. And as you can see, what we have done here is we've given security keys more emphasis. And we also provide very clear instructions around what you want to do with QR code and hybrid. And we're already seeing like better comprehension, better understanding when we're presenting these options side by side with more similar weight. And it's really helping users understand what to do in the moment. So we're not asking them to make too many choices. We're instead sort of giving them a full map of what they can do in a certain experience, and that can help in certain cases.
So that's about unlocking adoption. When we talk about unlocking comprehension, while that adoption moment is pretty critical, we can elevate the benefit to the users as well as how they can use the technology. We also see ample opportunity and honestly necessity to begin to help users understand what this technology is in the passkey management experience in settings. So let's look at that management touch point. We launched with a settings page that was really meant to highlight user control. We wanted them to understand where their agency was when it came to this new factor. So we had some automatically generated passkeys on Android devices that you might have seen, and we wanted to give ample space to explain to users what was happening for them in that moment. And then we also had a section around passkeys that the user was creating specifically. We found in that section in particular an opportunity to really reflect the reality of the technology back to our users. We know that security keys and passkeys share a tech heritage, so we actually merged them here. We went ahead and deprecated our old security key page that used to have its own space, and we brought them in here to this passkeys section so that users could begin to understand that new-gen security keys actually store passkeys. So at a factor level, they are passkeys. Now what about older-gen security keys? We made a section for them too and called them two-step verification only security keys. That meant that you could have hardware keys in both sections. And that first part of passkeys you created, and then also that second part of passkeys you created that are actually two-step verification only security keys. And we brought this all together under one button, which was create a passkey, to help really push forward this idea of that's where you go, this is where you go to add a security key. But differentiating security key types at this high of a level, we found wasn't really matching users' mental models. It's not exactly as helpful as we could be. So that's because it was a tech-first perspective. Now, we talked about agency and mirroring reality. Those are UX heuristics. We love to do that, but it wasn't intuitive. So we rethought our information architecture with what we call a reverse pyramid. What are those large buckets? What are the big things that users need to understand when they're coming here to manage their passkeys and their security keys and how they sign in with this new tech? And then we're experimenting now with how we drill down to create the extra information and details that they may need. Ultimately, what we found when thinking about users' mental models is that they need to know what they need specifically on hand to sign in. Do they need their devices that they probably already have, or do they need a security key that they otherwise would not have slipped into their pocket or put on their keychain before they went to a different country? So we split it up between passkeys on your devices and passkeys on your security keys. This was also a moment in using that language to reiterate to users that security keys can store passkeys. And this meant that those hardware keys ended up in one place and you didn't have to be confused. We also saw that the users who were used to using security keys were wondering, where do I go to add it? So we've started playing with reintroducing a second button that also reinforces the idea that you can use a security key to create a passkey. So we added a second button, and we're seeing some good results there. We also went ahead and brought this finding to the FIDO UX working group to see if it could be unbranded and extrapolated out for other relying parties. And it can, which is great. So this will be in the new content guidelines for the UX working group. The initial testing has shown that when users who have used a security key in the last year are asked to go navigate this information architecture and add a new security key, they found this structure simple and intuitive. They succeeded in adding their security keys, and I think some of the other words they used were easy and straightforward. So we love that. Now, what about that extra information? What about the automatically generated passkeys for Android? What about passkeys that can only be used with a password? We're exploring right now, though we don't have findings just yet, around using metadata to give those users additional information. So again, starting with those big buckets, making sure they know what they need to know, and then drilling down. So if they keep reading, which users don't like to read, as much as it saddens me as a writer, it's there. Now, we believe in passkeys quite a bit. Obviously, we talk about them all the time. And we think that passkeys can help move authentication forward holistically. What does that mean at Google? Mitch and I have said many, many times that we believe passkeys should be introduced in authentication-related moments, such as right after sign-in. That's probably where you've seen it yourself. We're also adding passkeys to our existing security programs, like two-step verification and the advanced protection program. This way, we've got more moments where we're talking about how great passkeys can be. And it's allowing these high-risk users and these security-conscious users to reap the benefits of convenience without sacrificing security. We can let those two-step verification users who really care about security sign in just one step without sacrificing that security that they care so much about. And the users who have high risk will be able to enroll in the advanced protection program with just a passkey and some recovery factors, like a security key or a recovery phone and recovery email. This is enabling users in more situations with more means, less means, however it be, to get the security and protection that they need. We're going to also be looking at how we can use passkeys to optimize all of our journeys for all of our users. So where else does this make sense? What other authentication moments? And we're also doing a rigorous evaluation in regards to accessibility to make sure that they can work for everyone. Now, this is a bit of a paradigm shift. We've, since the advent of the online account, used a username and a password. We're not just introducing a new piece of tech, we're introducing something that could be a major shift in the way people authenticate and get access to the information they really want and need. So we really, really encourage, we have to work with your team holistically. If you have marketing specialists or you know some, consult with them. Talk about how to get this conversation going out in the world. We've produced blogs, videos, you can use marketing materials. If you don't have any that yet, you're welcome to reference any of the ones that some of the major brands have put out. We have some good ones. Android has some good ones. Sony also produced some really good ones. So go check them out and join the conversation outside of the product, because this is a social shift, truly. Now, what are our key takeaways? We just wanted to boil it down because we said a lot of stuff. First, try communicating that sign-in will be fast, specifically fast. And do that even in your imagery by making sure that your illustrations don't convey hidden complexity, because It's a really simple process. We know it's fast. Try organizing your settings and your management by modality on devices or on security keys so users can know what to expect when it comes to sign-in. Prompt users to create passkeys in authentication-related moments that make sense for your user base. Maybe after account recovery. Maybe that's a good moment to say, hey, don't get locked out next time, have a passkey, and you don't need to remember that password. And also, I've said it before, I'll say it again, engage your entire team to help you. If you have specialists who are good at conversations and social media marketing with government affiliates, get them to help, bring them on this journey with you. This is something we believe everyone can benefit from. All right, we've got about 5 minutes for questions.
Do you see the security being compromised as passkeys are synced to the cloud across, the platforms, whether that be your Chrome or iTunes account?
That's so interesting. So the suggestion or the question is are passkeys less secure because they sync effectively? I don't think so. I think it really just creates a really great experience for users. So what we find is when we're creating passkeys for the Google account right now, not everybody syncs everywhere all the time. And so we actually just make a promise about creating a passkey locally. And so we really think that's a really cool experience when you create a passkey on a device and you can sign in with your screen lock. Super good. People love it. When people see it, they enjoy it. And so I think syncing is almost like that really cool core experience plus icing on the cake. And so for users, then it becomes a more wonderful experience when passkeys do sync and they are available elsewhere. And so I think as a foundational thought, I don't see them as less secure. I do think that for enterprise or certain configurations, I think it's okay to sort of like have passkeys on a hardware key because that's not going to sync. And I think that's a great case of that's just a different way to use a passkey.
I'll just shout it out. But,
Okay.
Are you guys looking at the UX of when we get 100 passkeys, 200 passkeys, what that's going to look and feel like?
Oh, that's our favorite use case. We have incredibly long mocks in our Figma files, and we have some of the most complex, like just out of the gate, use cases when it comes to passkey management, because we've been supporting FIDO credentials for over 10 years now. So yes, we're absolutely thinking about that, and we're going to continue to refine. Right now, when it comes to the average number of passkeys, we see that it helps to break it down by modality, and then we may see in the future breaking it down further. But for now, as far as adoption goes and what's going to be most helpful, and then also with the mention of syncing, we believe that number can be kept relatively low when it comes to your Google account in particular. But yes, we've designed for it. I actually think Mitch will probably print it out and put it on a t-shirt at some point.
Hi. Have you seen any adoption internationally of passkeys, or this is more the US data that you shared about the 1 billion use of the passkeys? Like, how are you seeing international, specifically China also?
So China's an interesting question because as we may know or may not know, not all Google Play services are available in China. So I think that changes the passkey story a little bit. But we are working with different folks to figure out exactly what we can do. And when we think about where Google Play services, by extension our passkey support, is present, which is beyond China, we do see adoption for sure, absolutely. So our numbers are global.
Hi, thank you so much for that. I'm wondering from the perspective of accessibility of passkey management in like low-tech literacy, disabled persons, or people just not knowing what they see when they see a passkey management. Do you have any insights you can share with us to try to understand what things you're considering right now from the data that you've collected so far?
Absolutely. And so, if I understand the question right, it's you're asking like if people who are less technically savvy, be they older, younger, more literate, less literate, if they're having trouble with passkeys. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
So-
specifically passkey management.
Passkey
Yeah.
management. So I think that's a really interesting question. So we actually did a study recently. So I can't necessarily speak to the specifics of it, but the broad outcome was that when it comes to using passkeys, a lot of these folks are very excited by it. And in fact, this was a different study, and passkeys happened to be parallel involved. And as soon as they saw passkeys, they were like, "Oh, what is that? That actually looks pretty cool." When it comes to management, though, it's not something we actually don't encourage our general users to go manage their passkeys. Our usual mantra is that go create them as you need them, and then don't worry about them. It's the same for all of our Google account settings. We don't really consider that like conversion area. We consider that the curtain that you reach behind to tweak knobs if you have opinions about it. And so while we do test and we do try to make sure they're as simple as possible, configuration requires a certain level of aptitude that you can't expect of every user. And so we try and make it as simple as possible and as clear as possible. But regardless of the second factor, regardless of the authentication method, there's a complexity in there that not every user can or has time to comprehend.
And I think another thing that's interesting about this factor in particular is that there's really little management that needs to be done from a consumer level, because truly what you can do is you can delete it, or you can name, maybe if you have a passkey on a security key, you can name that key. In terms of, well, then what happens to my key? Well, if you delete it off of one place, delete it off your platform, you can create a new one on a new device, and that's actually what we encourage. So the functionality is really limited when you come through, because that's all you really need to do. It's end-to-end encrypted, and the way that a user really experiences a passkey is through the way that they unlock their device. So if they know how to change their PIN on their phone or update their computer password, then they know how to effectively manage their passkey. If they get a new device, it's a little different. They'll set it up, and it'll be the same after that.
Can you set your Google passkey up with, or passkey up with different browsers, Safari, etc., or are they all just supported by Google Chrome?
Are they all just supported by Google Chrome, Mitchell, now that you have a microphone?
I'm so sorry. I was thinking about the microphone. Could you shout that out one more time?
No, I was just saying, when you go to initially set up your passkey, do you have to use a Chrome browser in respect to setting it up for Google, or is it
The short answer is no.
No, you can use anything. So as anywhere the Google account is supported and passkeys are supported by that platform, you can go ahead and make that passkey. So if you want to go to Windows and you want to make it on Edge, we got you. If you want to make it in any Chromium-based browser, 100% we got you. Safari on macOS, you want to make a passkey for your Google account, you can do that, easy. We actually have a URL if you would like to try that. If you want to test out what I'm saying, just go to g.co/passkeys, and you can go straight through the creation process right there. We even got a cute little page for you to land on.
Just going to let Mitch run.
Yeah, so about the management, I saw one weird use case where, like on Amazon, I created the passkey on iPhone, and then I deleted it. They gave the message that Amazon deleted it, but from they told go to all the cloud services and delete from your profile. So like as a consumer, like even being techie, I was not sure where to go and delete. And then they say if you don't delete, then it will keep prompting, the device will keep prompting it. So that's the first question. Second question is the recovery. Like from recovery, when someone lost the passkey or lost the device, what are the ways you have seen the users recovering? Is there backup is the password, or is there any better backup?
So I'll snag that first one really quickly. When it comes to the deletion, you're absolutely right that right now, when you have a passkey on a different relying party, but you made it through, say, your Android device, then you need to today delete it in two places. I mean, don't need to, but you can, because right now a passkey is actually a cryptographic key pair where there's one string of code in one place and one string of code hanging out with that website. Today, when you delete one, the other one may not know, and so that second half, which is essentially useless by itself, hangs out, and you can go delete it. But I do know that the FIDO Alliance has it on the product roadmap to make sure those deletion moments start syncing so that you delete it in one place and both halves are gone.
with the so thank you, Court. I think with the second question, which I think was around when a user is using a passkey, how do you see users recovering their account? Is that right?
Yeah, like say they lost the device or the passkey.
So at Google, for the Google account specifically, I'll give two examples. Like so, Relying Party and then Google, which is just a different flavor of Relying Party. But at Google, we interpret a lot of people fall back to us, but there isn't a lot of places for us to fall back to. So we put in a huge amount of work into trying to figure out different ways to make sure that users who do lose their device, because life stuff does happen and devices do break, we really want to make sure people can get back in. So we have all kinds of backup options that we encourage all kinds of users to use, from recovery email to phone number to device notifications. If you go through the account settings, Cord and I have done tremendous work recently trying to refresh those, revise those, revitalize those things. And we really want to make sure that there's a great recovery experience for users for Google. For Relying Parties, I would like to think that they can fall back to Google or whatever, Outlook or whatever email provider that they have, or a phone number. And from there, then, that you can get back into your account through your Google account by sending like a magic link or a reset link or something else to set up a new passkey. And so that's how I would recommend or suggest or think would be a good path to take for now. But in the FIDO UX working group, recovery is something that we take pretty seriously, and we would like to have a very solid opinion that can be generally applied. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, that answers. Just follow up is that it does become less secure. So, for example,
I was waiting for that.
if I'm able to like recover, that means fraudsters are also able to recover or like log into Google by my phone number or email.
Absolutely.
Passkey security is kind of
So the passkey security, like when we fortify the front door with the passkey, we love that. It looks really good. But it's really like the account, any account, is only as secure as the weakest second factor that you have available on there. And that's something we take very seriously, and we're thinking about a long-term solution to that. So while I can't speak to it now, please know we care about it a lot. We're thinking about it a lot. We're sweating about it, all right, because we think it's like a serious problem. We're really thinking about the best way to address it. And we have some really cool ideas and really cool plans that are already in motion.
I think we could easily say, and our product manager happens to be in the room, so he can kick me if I'm wrong later.
Hi,
If
Sharon.
you're a two-step verification user and you've adopted a passkey, if you cannot get in with your passkey, you'll fall back to your two steps.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want users to lose that security that they've been used to before this factor came to be. We are absolutely over time, but love that y'all hung out. and
Yeah,
asked
thank you so
questions.
much.